his interest in DC. But, the idea is, this is close to the past. Congresswomen, senators, Supreme Court justices, they're key sporting events in DC. And I can imagine that proximity to that is potentially actually really valuable and really impressive for QA. So I think there's a number of possibilities as to that. And then the simplest could just be that it's money. The sheer value appreciation that we've looked at in America and in the NBA, teams that are selling for hundreds of millions now are selling for $1 billion in the course of the change. This has been a fairly uncovered over the past 20 or 30 years to rapidly make more money than we have to say. I've been very suspicious that the split in Hoffman said, so very focused on the split fashion is something that we are spending a lot of time in this specifically about the cut, because leading into the 2022 cut, it deserves a lot of attention, because that cut was built out of nothing, by migrant workers, somewhere between 500 and 5,000 of works died, and my guess would be it's a lot closer to the 5,000 number. And obviously would have to be known for not the human rights effort and how to treat women, how to treat the LGBT community, how to treat a number of people who are not super rich prepared, men specifically. So, as we've tried to answer, the server, on the Windows terminal on the work this weekend, how do you justify this? Well, I think it's a really interesting question, and obviously everyone involved in this understood that there is going to be backlash to it. This is not a blend in a vacuum, and thought everybody is going to love it. And to be totally honest, I'm surprised that the first having that fund to invest in this sports is from Qatar, as you said. There's a whole raft of information out there about human rights concerns in Qatar, from the Saudi Arabia, from the Qatar, that I was kind of expecting this to happen from a different country first, and then maybe evolve into some of the potential controversial views. One thing I will say about Southern Earth, and I do think it's interesting in this conversation, a lot of these many Southern Earth funds are invested in the exact same private equity firms that are already belonging to these leagues. And so many big-time sports owners have other businesses that they partner with Southern Earth funds on. And Southern Earth funds that own a whole lot of American equities, some of those that MSE Sports or Liberty Media are team owners. The Southern Earth funds that are invested in huge companies in the world, it's a CLO and Fanatics. There's Southern Earth money everywhere in American sports already before this deal happened. What makes this deal so unique is the proximity between the Southern Earth fund and the team. It's not investing in a firm that's not investing in, it's not investing in a company that has a lot of equities, it's not investing in an owner's other business. It is directly investing in the team. And it is the press release and the announcement that is the PR logo and the nominal logo right next to each other. So we've talked around that spirit about just how different this is. If there's so much Southern Earth money already in American sports, how notable is it that this deal happened in this way? And that's the thing that I think really sticks out to me, is that if you do believe that the real motive here is to get a lot of publicity for doing this investment, there's no way to get more publicity than to invest directly into the team, as opposed to other ways of Southern Earth money is circulating around American sports owning. Right. I don't know if they're going to get the kind of attention they want in the announcement. Which is something that Adam said that he was asked, I don't know if he caught this, but about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, after the PGA Live announcement came out, Adam was asked about that and what it might mean for Southern Earth funds investing in the NBA. And one of his comments was that he thinks the media does a really good job of when we talk about big moments of the top, also highlighting a lot of the things that we're talking about, right? The bad things that are happening in those countries. So certainly the way that Adam thinks about it, I think personally is that not that and to invest is a bigger spotlight to be shown, but I think he does feel as though the conversation can be very balanced in his views, because it is in some ways paying attention to some things that NBA fans might not be so aware of, but then feed soccer fans, for example. Right. Adam But this is, I think the largest settlement fund is the Norwegian settlement fund, so obviously the government that it settles that. And then it's a thing that I understand, one of the big things for a lot of Middle Eastern governments right now is trying to diversify their economies, and so the very lucrative research and very lucrative products. And I think one of the reasons that you see Saudi Arabia, you see Kuwait and Qatar really getting very aggressive and investing in a lot of sports teams, entertainment, other businesses, technology, whatever you want it to do, is that I think the government wants its exposure to be a little bit more broad than just I think that is one of the interesting parts of particularly in the countries like Qatar and like Saudi Arabia, is that a lot of this, from what I understand, is taken money that is probably taken via air and trying to use it just to diversify their businesses. So that in 20 or 30 years, if the air is very less than air than it is, if the air is up, for whatever reason, that the economy doesn't just go down to a head. So, I hear you on that, but I guess the air one's interesting because that's a Nordic society where people are generally pretty happy that they're outside to do their, Nordic citizens doing their own. Versus, the definition of citizenship in that I know is not nearly as it is in Qatar, for instance, where most of the people that actually live in Qatar are not considered citizens, which allows you to do all kinds of manipulation in terms of the numbers in the north. And part of the reason that hold that fair north fund and the money is big is because the people who actually do the work to harvest that air don't get paid that they're living roads and that there's a lot of corruption. There's a lot of corruption in just an economic system that doesn't serve anybody but the top, and that's it's like, it's not for anybody, and your general state of living for most people in the country is perfect. Like, it's pretty easy when you keep it out. I guess that's kind of what I'm asking too, is that, is it possible that any foreign law firm is something that, I don't know, get too deep in the politics of it, what are American ideas these days anyway, but I do think of the most generic, safe version that everybody can agree on, and that people have rights, and that people should get paid fair wages, and that the kinds of things that would theoretically go into a generic, not close politician stump speech. Is there a sort of law firm that exists that would be closer to do business with those persons? Is someone that they're getting to business with anybody that is a sort of law firm already going to bring up a litany of murder problems that these leads are basically pumping on in the name of money? I think that's one of the questions, and these are questions that Adam and Seth are going to be going in the next few weeks. I'm happy to listen to it. It feels, and honestly, some of this kind of sounds like a lot of the backlash and in Canada a few years ago, another country that has its own kind of litany of human rights violations and concerns. And this is the times that our businesses, I would say, but just because I'm talking about experts, but all of these experts that are doing these deals are going to need to fix that, and they're going to need to be able to talk about them. And the one deal is about a view of a sense of conflict views and institutional to include sovereign law firms. One of the things that I kept hearing from folks at the NBA is, look, this doesn't mean any sovereign law firm can do this. They're going to be on a case-by-case basis, they're going to look at each claim, and again, one of the reasons that I was kind of surprised that Kuwait would be the first one. But does that mean that the PIF could buy into 20% of the India purses, or that sovereign law firms from China could buy into the U.S. mix? I have no idea. I think it would be interesting to see if there is around the NBA wants to do. But the league is kind of said to your point about whether there's a third out here, those kind of O's kept, it seems kept rates, and at some point just because they're open to this money doesn't mean they're going to accept that whenever assist surface and that the person asked specifically is something that we kind of come to come. One of the most outspoken advocates, one of the most outspoken, also outspoken with the compliment, figures for civil rights and sports in America. About the women who has been very better about the darkness, the fairness, the rights that makes her a person and in particular. The fact that at the times we've had a very purpose for her to see where her ethnicity was from, doesn't coincide with her she didn't. So I think that is kind of the American engine and the slippery slope here and the question that these leagues often have to ask is that where is the woman? Because if we're doing business, if we're doing business with the Qataris, if we've already put that in a place that's potentially damaging to, if you're talking about the NBA, like that's percent of the WNBA, for instance, and certainly many of their fans and many people have supported the league for the last 25 years, but the NBA is it. I'll give you and there's definitely some cynicism to this, but the one that we have heard from other owners and investors and people who have been finance in this industry is that a lot of people don't see a huge difference between this year and having a private equity firm that is backed by sovereign wealth. And again, I think that is a very, you can look at that as a very kind of strict, a very business focused looking at this. Again, I think there's a lot of people, and obviously speak prepared, not prepared about this, but I think there's a lot of people who kind of view this as more or less the same. There's a little bit more proximity to it. But again, the Southern America is all over the American economy, it's all over American sports. And this is just then the kind of, again, I would also know that there's a lot of NBA owners who have really been at them, it's going to be the first time to do this. And if they're talking to talking to Minnesota, the Norwegian Southern American, the other Southern American those, I think that the other again, I think you're going to agree, it's going to be a lot more aggressive at this. But in the next few years, we're not trying to be a two-seater because it's just the difference between that. As a country, we can't not deal with China because they've done some terrible stuff. That's been a certain option in American foreign policy. But it's different when you're a private business is doing things and it's just like, hey, they're willing to take the money because that's a money. I'm reading some of the film about this, that the Qataris are going to put in hundreds of thousands of dollars into the youth of DC. And that's great. And so there's clearance here. I guess it's like, again, it's clearance. I'm not trying to be obtuse. It's just that I think it's important to ask the question and religions to try to understand that where those lines are. And I think you've done a good job of explaining it, that like, these lines are already very blurry because of some of the ways in which money is cornered into sports already, but we just might not know that and not try to see it. One of the things that I've been thinking about is at that point we are from also as a Southern American is a contestant in the American sports contest. And all of the leagues that have made this claim about institutional capital in the past few years, and they are noted very clearly that passive minority states, none of them can be over 20% of the franchise, all of those things. But again, if the current dominant herd, who says that in 10 years or 15 years or 20 years, whatever it is, who says that at some point the economic arguments suddenly not have the very valuation increasing is to contesting things, right? That is America that happen and then a 5% state of monument period. And I do wonder again, and this is very dominant, but if at some point, and who would be the first, if a major U.S. league at some point says, well, let's have enough fun and capture and 25 of the 32 teams, they're going to expand the pool of it to do a little bit more. But the last thing completely, I know that 60 seconds or so before that saying said Qataris is going to get the better commanders and tennis. Do you have any idea if there are things there? Certainly, I don't have too much firm inside information. The impression that I have been from talking to people in the is that the NFL, I think, maybe to its credit, stood pretty firm. And some of the retirements that have really have talked about this push and pull of the NFL really remonstrance at it, comparing the national commanders, and whether that is down to potentially depending the financing package that under normal circumstances might have been a little bit stretching the boundaries of its manifest. From what I understand, manifest has been fairly firm throughout it. That it was its own, and from my understanding, there have been a few changes to that package. I don't know exactly what those were, and I don't know the full extent of it, and maybe they did just need in the minute, but my general feeling is that I believe that a few changes to the financing of his bill to it was happy with it. I was never clear in benefit of clear as something but it certainly seems like in the next 2 weeks that I'm having a moment. Yeah, don't forget to be fast. I don't know if you learned a little bit of the term and everything, special business, better birth and it's better time investment. Mentor, and the internet, and develop things to take that in. Thank you for your time, guys. Let me turn to that and thanks, better. I don't know if you learned that about spread of time and you get back better news from the lessons and persons of customers.
You will get some negative attention. You will get people upset, and they will call you out on it. But as time moves on, people will turn the page, and they will either forget about it, or there'll be that lonely voice that's holding on to something that everybody else has moved on past.
All right,
And
Michael.
I think that's what all these teams are sort of banking on. These
Right.
teams, these leagues are like, yeah, be mad, go ahead and get it all out. Because once it's out of your system, we're going to keep making this money.
Right, and that's exactly what your colleague Candace Parker, or sorry, not Candace
She,
Parker, Candace Buckner.
Candace Buckner.
Yeah, wrote about.
She did an excellent column, laid it out perfectly.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to Vegas this week and going to visit friend with the Aces. Candace Parker's clearly on my brain right now. Candace Buckner, who wrote about this in the Post. Michael Lee with
Two great
us.
Candaces.
Yeah, Candace, clearly great name. Candace Buckner, phenomenal. Candace Parker, great. It's kind of the end of my list of Candaces, but that's fine. Michael, not only, of course, great sports enterprise reporter now at the Post, covered the NBA for a long, long time. So I did want to get a couple of basketball thoughts on you, mainly what you think about what the Wizards are doing. I think it's interesting, Michael, that they bring in Jordan Poole. Everyone kind of thought they just bought him out. Like, let's bring in no talent, no long-term contracts. And all of a sudden they acquire this soon-to-be 24-year-old, or maybe he already turned 24. I know this is age 24 season with 4 years left on this contract. Who's got a ton of upside, but is also potentially a good player right now. Maybe too good in the eyes of some Wizards fans who want them to completely tank. What have you made of kind of the sequence of moves here and ultimately the ending spot, or at least this close to ending spot with free agency still around the corner?
Well, I love what they're doing. It takes a lot of guts to just say, we're just going to hit the reset button. I mean, and I think anybody who's upset with the direction of the franchise right now needs to figure out, like, where were they headed before all these moves were made. I mean, this was a lottery team. They've been in the lottery consistently for the last 5 years, or they had that one playoff appearance, but, that felt kind of fluky with Russ being here. But I think overall this has been a mediocre to below average team. And so if you have a bad basketball team, you can't just keep, doubling down on the same mistakes and just keep spending money and then going in a direction that's going to take you nowhere. At some point you got to pivot and do something differently. So I love the fact that they weren't afraid to trade Bradley Beal, that they were able to turn Kristaps Porzingis potentially leaving as a free agent and flipping him and getting assets out of him. And I just think that I like what they're doing. They're betting on young guys. They're taking a chance on risks that are worthwhile. I mean, I think Jordan Poole, he had a down year last year, but I also believe there were a lot of factors that played into him having a bad year, namely being punched by his teammate and his teammate not really getting punished to any kind of type of severity. But he also contributed to a team that won a championship. And I think he's going to love the freedom that he has, playing in Washington. And I think he'll add some level of excitement. I think that the team the sad part about the Wizards over the last 5 or 6 years is that they have been boring in addition to being bad. And you got to pick one. You can be the Spurs and be great and boring, but you can't be bad too. You got to give me something to get excited about. You got to give me some hope that you're headed somewhere. And the Wizards provided nothing. They provided no hope, no wins, no buzz, and just dudes out there playing basketball. And that's a miserable place to be. At least now the fans, if you might be upset that they didn't trade Brad 3 years ago like they should have, or that they, have sort of wasted fans, the last couple of years on a bad product. But at some point you got to just say, okay, enough. We don't need to worry about all the assets we get for this and that. Just say enough. We're done going down this path. We have to try something new. I love that they're trying something new. I love that they're, accumulating, second-round picks and, getting, draft switch swaps. I think that's a great direction for the franchise. They have to be willing to do something bold. I like the direction that they're taking. And if you're a fan and you're disappointed in this, I'll just say it can get worse. But at least you have the hope that it can get better. And that for the previous 3 years, they couldn't even provide that. There was going to be a dreadful 4 years for as long as they had to pay Brad that salary, and with no ability to build around him a confident roster. So moving on from him was great for him too, because now he actually gets a chance to play for something that matters. And I think, for him, he can also improve aspects of his game that probably were able to let slide playing for a team that wasn't going to win anything. So I love what's happening right now with the Wizards. I think that providing hope is really all you can sell to fans when you can't sell them wins. And there hasn't been a hopeful period for this franchise in a long time.
No doubt. And the fact that I think that's the thing that gets kind of underscored in all of this. Like you said, there was no way for them to actually build around him. There's no way to acquire the kind of talent they needed to build a winner that included Bradley Beal. So then the question becomes, in the rebuild, Michael, how bad should they be trying to be? And I worded the question that way specifically, trying to be, because there's this thought for some that say, you have to bottom out. Like you have to, whatever year it was where the Sixers won 10 games. Like you got to be that team. And there's other people that are like, no, tanking's for losers. It's a bad culture. You can't go all the way. If you happen to lose, that's fine, but there needs to be some level of try. Where are you on kind of the try to be bad versus we don't care if we're good scale, if you will?
Well, I think that, there's, like I said, you can go any number of ways, but I think that if you, kind of build a culture of losing, that you stay in that place for a long time. It's really hard to get out of it. It's a lot harder to build from the middle. A lot harder to build from the bottom than from the middle. If you look at the Denver Nuggets, they had a couple lottery seasons in there, right? And they got Jamal Murray, obviously, in the lottery. But they also hit, on Jokic. They took a risk on Michael Porter Jr. at the 14th pick, And so if you look at how their roster is being built, it wasn't built by having a bunch of number one picks. If you look at the Golden State Warriors, they built with Steph Curry at 7, Klay Thompson at 11, Draymond Green in the second round. And so you look at the teams that are winning championships, it's not the teams that are just accumulating all these number one picks, because if you are accumulating those number one picks, chances are you've been really bad and that you've sort of just been used to losing. And so when you bring one of these talented players into a losing culture, it's hard for one player to expunge all that from your system. And sometimes they can get caught up in that losing system and that losing culture. So I think if your main focus as an organization is to develop a winning culture, drafting guys from winning schools, signing guys who've had a history of success with successful organizations, getting veterans in there who know what it takes to win. And so if you surround these young guys with winners, eventually you have a winning mentality and you can sort of build towards becoming a contender down the road. If you just tank and just say we're going to bottom out and just lose a bunch of games, the downside is that you don't have enough of an infrastructure in place that once you start getting good players that you can just flip the switch and all of a sudden get good. And you can see it, like as far as, what you say about the process, they got an MVP in Joel Embiid, but they've never gotten past the second round. They still aren't a championship contender 10 years after the fact. So you look at that and you're like, well, dang, they had Ben Simmons, they had Markelle Fultz, they had all these number one picks, and all they have left is Joel Embiid and a team that can't get past the second round. So you got to ask yourself, the teams that have been winning, the Toronto Raptors, the last couple of championships, other than the Lakers, everybody else has been building through, quality draft picks and a great culture. And that's what you really have to establish if you're going to have sustained success, because you may have that one championship like the Lakers, and then you bottom out, and then you're not really, you're not, it's not sustained. But if you want to have a sustained run and just sort of always be in contention, that comes from building a strong culture. And I think that's what the Wizards are trying to establish now, is a strong culture. So you don't want to be so bad that even talent can't reverse it. You just want to be, you want to make sure your culture is so good that anybody that can come in can be a part of that and help elevate you.
I agree with your conclusion. I am curious to double click on the Sixers thing real quick, though, because I would argue and have that a team that's won 50 games 4 times in the last 6 years and has been on the wrong end of some pretty gut-wrenching and you could even say unlucky in terms of the Kawhi shot defeats in deciding games is there.
Yeah,
I would say they've been a
the
contender.
fourth
So I was just going to say, like, how much do you think that, kind of the process of getting here, no pun intended, affects their ability to perform in those situations where perhaps you define them as someone who's not a legitimate contender?
Well, I'm not saying they're not a contender. I'm just saying they haven't won anything.
Sure.
So if you haven't won, then what's the purpose? Like, what are you in this for? Just to be in contention, or to actually get through to the conference finals at least, or get through to the NBA finals? I think that's the one thing that's lacking from that whole rebuild, is that they've cycled in all this talent, and they've had Embiid, who's become an MVP. But what do they have to show for it other than Embiid's MVP? I mean, a couple of 50-win seasons is nice, but who remembers that? We remember the champions. We remember that the Raptors beat them and got lucky, but they also got a ring. And so, and again, the Raptors had established a culture for a long time. They kept getting to the playoffs, and losing to LeBron. Then LeBron went to the West, and they got Kawhi. And they won a championship, but the culture was in place so that when Kawhi got there, he was the talent that pushed them over the hump to where they could finally get that championship they were in pursuit of. But the culture was already there and established. And so I think that's what I'm talking about in terms of having a winning culture where your stars are accountable, your stars are willing to make sacrifices and do what's needed to win. And I think that comes from building from the middle in a lot of ways, where you're not going to luck into the number one pick and then just hope that they lead you to a championship. You're just going to have a nice culture that when you add these players, you can develop them. They can become stars within your culture. Look at Miami. I mean, when's the last time Miami had a number one pick? The highest they went was number 2, and it turned out to be Michael Beasley. But I'm just saying in general, like they're not typically in the lottery, but their culture means that they're always going to be playing for something, even if they're not winning the whole thing. And I think that's what you really want as an organization, is to actually get to the finish line. Somebody may pass you once you get there, but at least you're right there, as opposed to just hoping you get lucky.
Yeah, I hear you. And I think culture.
Go ahead, make your point. Go ahead, say what you're saying.
So like culture is incredibly important. It's something that over the last 10 years of doing this, it is something that I've become, I think, even more of an advocate for, is like getting Channing Frye calls them connectors, like what he was in 2016, and having in the right vets in the right places. But I just think like Philly to me is such a uniquely weird example, because I look at what has gone wrong for them, and I think it is so incredibly, on one hand, unlucky. Like, how could they know that Ben Simmons would just completely implode as a basketball player after being a borderline defensive player of the year? And also self-owns, because like I just think they made bad coaching decisions along the way. I think they made bad executive decisions along the way, moving on from the people who initially built that roster and probably had a longer-term plan for it, from Brett Brown to Sam Hinkie to obviously Doc Rivers has been a really notoriously awful coach in the playoffs, and that's the guy they hired to take them home. So I look at a team like Philly specifically and go, they did so much right. And, like, there's always going to be luck involved. They maximize their chances to get lucky, and that lands them in Embiid, despite missing on Nerlens Noel and Michael Carter-Williams and Markelle Fultz. And they are still right there, even if they haven't completed it yet. Like, and then if you want to talk about, like, the culture stuff, they messed up not keeping Jimmy. They messed up on some personnel decisions, but I actually don't think it was early in that process necessarily versus later in it, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. And I understand all that, but I also know that, this is a, results league, and, all the stuff you mentioned is all fine and dandy. It's all accurate. It's all true. But again, what are the results? I mean, and I say building from the middle and also from a culture, you can look at Milwaukee as well. Their best player is Giannis, who was the 15th pick. And so, they were able to build around him and find the right pieces. But again, you had that superstar guy who, and you're building from the middle. They weren't a great team. They weren't a really awful team. They were just somebody that got lucky with their draft pick, and luck plays a big part in all this.
Right.
And that's why I think getting so many draft picks and having a lot of swings, sort of helps you, because you're going to miss. The draft is such a weird process. Because like I was watching the draft Thursday, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, if you go through every draft, there's probably only like 3 or 4 like Hall of Famers in this class, right? Like there's never going to be a class that just everybody hits. So like who are going to be the great players out of these 60 players or 58 players that get drafted today? Like we get so excited about the future and everything, but only a handful are really going to be all-time greats. And so it's such a strange thing to put everything into the draft. And the other thing too about like I think Victor Wembanyama might have got it that breaks through, but if you look at since 1990, number one picks does not mean that he's going to wind up leading your franchise to a championship, because you got Tim Duncan, right? He was with the Spurs and he won championships there,
right? And
then you got LeBron, who won a championship somewhere and then came back to win with Kyrie. So you've had 3 number one picks win with the franchise that drafted them, and that's Kyrie, LeBron, who left and came back, and then Tim Duncan. And that's since 1990. That's 33 years. So we've had a number of number one picks, a number of excitement, a number of guys that got people buzzing about what direction they were headed. But not many of them have wound up leading their franchise to the promised land, especially the one that drafted them. So that's why I say that, the draft is good. Losing is fine if you want to, accumulate talent. But the Wizards have already done that. They got John Wall as the number 1 pick. They got Bradley Beal as the number 3 pick, and their ceiling was the second round. So try something new. Let's see how it works out and go from there.
Yeah, totally. And I did a segment on Friday talking about how player development is going to be the key to their future more than drafting, more than
Absolutely.
scouting. And I think that's also kind of what you're saying here is like, yeah, you get because if the Bucks knew that Giannis was going to be this good, they would have traded up to the number 1 pick to get him. And that's kind of the trick of it all is like nobody's like, yeah, we want to pick 9th because that's where the best player is. You just got to get the right guy in the right system, and them's the breaks of the NBA. Michael, this was great. Hope to have you back at some point soon. Appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you down the line.
For sure, anytime. Thanks for having me on.
All right, this is Michael Lee, everybody, Washington Post sports enterprise reporter. When we get back, Bradley Beal says goodbye to D.C. We will take a look at what he said and tell you what he said if you hadn't heard it yet here on The Hoffman Show. All right, it's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Man, we are having a day, and I would say whoa. All right, we need to do, I know why that happened. We just need to do a little, there we go. All right. Hey, Anthony.
Hey, what's up?
Interview with Michael Lee.
Yep.
Best part of the show.
Easily.
10 out of 10.
Yep.
So good. The rest of the show, Evan was like a 9 out of 10. The only reason it was a 9 is because we had tech issues at the beginning. He was a 10 out of 10 once we got rolling. The rest of the show, to quote Jamie Tart and Ted Lasso, poopy. It's not good. It's not good.
I like what we have at the top of the 6 o'clock hour.
What, take command?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. We can't really mess it up. Knock on wood. For all I know, Nick hasn't touched it, and it's not ready yet.
Now the audio is distorted.
Yeah, we'll hit play, and it'll be like, we're going to take command. Because that's the kind of day we've had. My light, which I thought I had fixed the problem, that will not make it have like a... It thinks it's going to Vegas, where it does the little spastic strobe lighty deal. It's strobe lighting again. So now I have to turn it off and like let it charge or something. By the way, we got to get you a light. We got to get one that sits right on the... No, don't... Yeah, we don't need that. Also, don't touch that. It's hot. What are you doing? Now you're backlit. What are you... Anthony. The Newhouse School taught you better than that. Yeah, turn that light away from you. But also don't burn yourself. No, just... Yeah, you don't... There you go. We got to get a light that lights up your face. Because it's something I noticed... I mean, I've noticed it before for you. Some days it's particularly dark in there, but especially with Essig, like Essig disappeared. This might be news to some folks who have never watched the stream or seen pictures of you or Matt Essig. You're a lot darker than Matt Essig.
A lot.
Yeah. A little more / a lot more melanin in the skin. So yeah, we're thriving today. Lights, camera, action. It's all gone sideways. All right. Bradley Beal wrote his goodbye letter. By the way, what are we doing at 5:45? What are we doing next?
Oh, I thought we were taking some calls on Bradley Beal.
Oh, yeah. We can do that. We can take some calls.
Yes.
301-230-0980. So Beal pens his his goodbye to DC letter. And I think, by the way, with some calls next, I also want to just follow up on what Michael said, because the rebuild thing, now my mind is going. And we've gotten a couple tweets on it. So what Michael said about building from the middle, I think is fascinating, and we should discuss it. So we can take some calls on that as well. 301-230-0980. But Beal pens his goodbye letter to DC. He writes it in the Players Tribune. He says, it's been an amazing 11 years, and it's unreal to think that my time here has come to an end. You spend over a decade somewhere, and that place becomes more than just the team you play for. It becomes a part of you. He talks about being drafted on his 19th birthday, about how grateful he is that the team put their faith in him as the 3rd overall pick. He talks about bringing a new energy to the city from a basketball standpoint with John Wall, and between the success of what he and John were able to lead and the Mystics, what that did for basketball in this city. He talks about the infamous Game 6 in 2017. He said, we didn't even need to be talking. That's how much we were on the same page about that game. It's like we knew how anything could happen in a Game 7 in Boston, and we almost could live with that, but we weren't losing tonight. And it was like tonight we're putting DC on our back. Memories like those will stay with me forever. And that game is ultimately the highlight of his career from a team success standpoint. That is the most meaningful game. I was in the building that the Wizards have had in, I don't even know how long. Of course, when you talk about you never know what can happen in Game 7, they took that a little too seriously, Anthony, because you remember what Game 7 was?
The Kelly Olynyk game.
That is correct. Ugh. He thanks a long list of people, not including the new folks who traded him, which is understandable. He worked with them for a week. And then he talks about, he closes it with, to everyone in D.C., it's bittersweet. I don't like how goodbye sounds. Let's just say see you later. We still got 160 to get. You never know. Peace, blessings, and prosperity to the city and fans. I hope you'll always consider me one of your own. The 160, do you know what that's a reference to, Anthony? Because I feel like that's lost on some people.
Yeah, I'm lost.
That is how many points he is shy of the franchise scoring record. So almost let's call it a desire. Some people might look at it as a threat to come back and score 160 points down the road in a Wizards uniform. And I'll shout out my guy Troy Halliburton, great Wizards reporter, coverer, opinion giver, media person, who said, like, this letter is in many ways a perfect encapsulation of Brad and his career. It is one that shows gratitude and talks about the work he did in the city and the things that are important to him and the community aspects, and all of that is great, but ultimately it ends in a very unsatisfactory way that's about something other than winning. And I thought Troy said that very well when it comes to the goodbye of Bradley. And I do think that, like, this is a man who evolved in a lot of ways over his time here. Most of them very good. He came in as a 19-year-old kid. He talks about in the letter, I came in, with my brothers and my parents and, like, kind of helping me go to D.C. as a 19-year-old, and I leave with a family of my own. I think the way he obviously ingratiated himself into the community over the course of years, many reporters have talked about how many things he did that he didn't necessarily, not that he didn't want credit for, but that he didn't seek out credit for. And those things are admirable. But when it comes to the basketball, like, the idea that it was him and John, like, it was, but it was John and him. And I think that just if we're being cold, calculated, journalistic, whatever you want to call it, in terms of just straightforward being a straight shooter, that is worth mentioning. And once it became his time, things changed around here. When John got hurt, things changed tremendously. And it will always be a great what if. Those two should have entered their prime of primes together, and who knows how good they could have been. But instead, he gets to go find out what the end of his prime looks like in Phoenix, and the Wizards move forward in a way that Brad, I thought, also aptly described. He said, I know this is a business, and from a business standpoint, it was the right time for both sides. It was very much the right time for both sides if the right time hadn't already passed. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. A quick look at what is trending. And then when we get back, we'll take some calls, 301-230-0980 on Beal's goodbye and the build from the bottom versus build from the middle debate. We had, not really debate, but debate that's happening with within Wizards world that we talked about with Michael Lee. 301-230-0980. First, though, what is trending?
Here's what's trending on the Team 980.
Trades continue to churn in the NBA. There have been few names bantied about in the past couple years, more than the Hawks' John Collins. He's finally on the move, going to Utah, where he is exchanged for Rudy Gay. Yes, still in the league. Rudy Gay headed to Atlanta. How about this? Eagles wide receiver Devin Allen taking away the football cleats, putting on the track spikes, running a 13:04 110-meter hurdles. Allen, who in the offseason obviously works as a sprinter, tied for the fourth fastest time in the world this year. And it was good for second in the race, finished behind Daniel Roberts, who ran a 13:01. That is what's trending. I'm Craig Hoffman on the Team 980. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. So, Anthony, in the next bout of, I swear to God, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I'm not trying to just complain the entire radio show. But in the next edition here of Adventures, the call screen computer is not working. So, do we have any calls?
We do not have any calls.
Oh, okay. Well, then that makes it really kind of irrelevant. Unless, so if people want to make it so that Anthony and I have to come up with another form of communication, yeah, you do the hand signals. Cool. We got the pull across. Yep. That guy. Yep. Oh, he's calling. Oof. Yeah. They're calling about the Beal with the dub.
Nah, when Kobe wanted to do ISO.
I know. I've seen the LeBron crit. Making fun of him. It's a pretty funny clip. You can give us a call, 301-230-0980. But we got some tweets on the Michael Lee conversation. Russell was listening, and he said, I enjoyed Michael's perspective on rebuilding, quote-unquote, from the middle on Craig's show on the Team 980. Russell loves to tag everybody. Appreciate that. Chris, I'm sure the Wizards fans on Twitter, along with all the NBA GM geniuses, would disagree. I think that's mischaracterizing the opinion of the wide majority of people, but Russell loves him a straw man argument. Hi, Chris, resident of Hell Cesspool. That's this guy's Twitter handle, or his name, at FatPoet10. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you, man. I just read what's in front of me. We're a little anchor manny right now. Great interview with Michael. I think he has changed my mind on this Wiz rebuild. I think Russell might be right. They may want to win 30 games or more to help build a winning mindset. I'm not going to hear the end of this. See, Russell, some people agree with you. Here's what I would say. This will stun people, but I'm going to try to give a little bit more nuanced take because God forbid anything I say be easy to understand. I don't think the number of wins matters. Hot take. Pew! Sound the alarm. Hoffman hot take. We should have an alarm for that. That's actually kind of a funny bit. Just came up with that one on the fly. I don't think whether you actually win games matters. That's kind of the point. The point is not the actual results in the beginning. The point is how you play, how you build. It is, to me, the front office's job to assemble a roster that is not good enough to win a lot of games so that you get the draft picks you need to accumulate the talent you need to win championships. It is on the coaching staff and the leadership within a locker room to approach every single day not as a team trying to win basketball games, but as a team that is trying to get better. And that is a really different and important mindset. And by the way, it's the one that actually also works when you were a championship caliber team. The Warriors don't go in every day necessarily going, we got to win a championship today. They go in going, we got to get better because the standard is not championship because you don't know what that standard is. That's a moving target. If everybody else in the league gets hurt, you don't actually have to be that good to win a championship. You just have to be lucky. Everybody's healthy. The championship, oh God, we prepared for the lucky version. Then you're screwed. Your goal should be, as a high performer, against yourself. Are you better than you were yesterday? Did you do the things you need to do to lay down your head on the pillow at night and say, I did what I was supposed to today with the proper effort and intensity and focus to actually achieve my goals when I repeat this process time and time again? Process over results. And if in doing that, you accidentally overachieve and win 35 games and wind up with the 9th pick next year and it goes to the Knicks, that's probably going to hurt. But okay, as an organization, you live with that. You might try to abandon ship at the end of the season. Hey, you got a little bit of an ankle. Wink, wink. You're going to shut it down, Jordan Poole. You're going to shut it down, whoever else. And you basically run out a G League roster to try to secure your draft spots. That's a front office decision. That's good franchise management. But the individual players, Jordan Poole's coming here to ball out and get himself on a contender, whether he creates one or whether he gets traded to one. And what Jordan brings from Golden State is hopefully like a routine and an expectation of like, oh, I don't know how to be a pro any other way because this is how Steph did it, and that's what he taught me. It's how Draymond taught me before we didn't really like each other that much anymore because he tried to break my face. It's what Clay does. It's what, what those guys learned from Andre Iguodala and Jared Jack before them. It's what they learned from David Lee. Really important pieces in that Warriors dynasty that didn't necessarily play. Some did, some didn't. On the actual championship teams. And so it's building a culture that doesn't have a number on it. It's not about, oh, they won 22 games in 2023. That's a failure or a success. It's they got better. They showed up. They put in the work. They worked hard. They perhaps had some players who were overexposed. Corey Kispert's going to be asked to be one of the top scorers potentially. That's not a role that actually suits him on a championship team. And that's how you lose. But if Corey gives it his best each and every day, that's a success. I hope I explained that well, because that's going to be really important to keep in mind. It's not about, in these first 1, 2, maybe even 3 years, wins or losses, especially in year one. It's about effort. It's about intention. It's about intensity. It's about developing good habits, and eventually those things will lead to wins. But right now, it's kind of on the front office to not go acquire a couple of guys who could push you from 32 to 38 wins because they have veteran know-how at the expense of younger players gaining valuable experience that's going to help them be players who can push you to 40 and ultimately 45, and then, God forbid, in Wizards franchise history, 50 wins moving forward. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live on the free Odyssey app as well. And when we get back, Logan and I did our confidence rankings on Take Command. What are the position groups we are least confident in? For the most, you're going to have to listen to the podcast, but we'll give you the least 3 next here on the Team 980. It is the Hoffman Show, final hour on a Monday. All right, Anthony, who's in the rest of the week? Who you got with you? Because I'm out.
So tomorrow I'm with Doc and Scott.
Okay.
And then on Wednesday and Thursday, because I won't be here Friday, I'm traveling in the airlines that should not be named.
Yeah, the airline's about to get a phone call from me. That one.
I'll be with Doc on Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay. Do we have any idea who's in on Friday when we're both out?
Oh, Doc is in on Friday.
Okay.
And Mike Maher is going to be with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'll be fun. You guys have a great time with those folks. Anthony and I will be doing our thing, and then we're back on Monday.
Yep.
We're off Tuesday because it's a holiday. Happy birthday, America. And then on Wednesday we're back for the rest of the week.
I may or may not be on another boat this weekend.
Oh.
No, I'm not going to be able to. I'm not going to Miami again.
That was a one-time only?
Nah, I think I've been on a boat like 3 times.
Okay.
One was a...
Will you be on a boat at any point in the future?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm young. I'm young, man.
Why did that feel like it was a shot at me?
Nah, because you can still get on boats as well.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me. Thank you for not revoking my boat pass.
No problem.
Oh, man, that's funny. By the way, Friday, although we're not here, so we're going to celebrate on Monday. Friday is our 1-year anniversary as a show. So we're celebrating by taking time off. We are going to celebrate on Monday. What we need is your help in this. So your favorite moments from the show over the past year. You can tweet me, you can tweet Anthony, you can email us, whatever it is, however it is that you have a way to get in contact. We want to know what your favorite moments are. We're going to try to go dig them up. So I guess in some ways, the earlier you send them, the better. Tweet me at Craig Hoffman, Anthony at Anthony Haney 3. If you go to hoffmanshow.com, there's a contact that you can send me an email. So we would love to get your memories of the show over the past year. I know one in particular that is probably going to come up, a certain interview with a certain someone who doesn't have that job anymore. But outside of that, I'm very curious to see what else y'all come up with. And then on Monday, we will relive some of our favorite memories of the first year of the show. Right now, though, time for Take Command here on a Monday. We recorded this morning. It'll be out tomorrow morning, but give you a little preview. Logan and I did our confidence ranking. So 9 position groups, 5 on offense, 3 on defense, and then the special teams unit as a whole. Who are we least to most confident in? We'll start off with the least. For the most, you'll have to listen to the pod. Here's how it went this morning. Take command here on the Team 980. Let's start with the group that we are least confident in going into the 2023 season. Logan, I think we're gonna have the same one, so I'm gonna do the old 1, 2, 3 here, and then we're gonna say it.
Okay.
What? 1, 2, 3.
O-line?
Offensive line.
Oh,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. Nice. Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. Why is it O-line?
So I think I like some of the moves they've done in the offseason. I like the idea of moving Cosme to guard. I think, that's probably his more natural position. Like when we've talked about that a lot. Probably better guard. Great. I like Wiley. I think he did a good job for Kansas City last year. I think he knows EB. I think he knows the scheme. I like Gates a lot. I think he's a good player. I like the potential of Chris Paul and Sadiq Charles. We'll see what kind of happens there. And then Leno is a serviceable left tackle. I think all of that is true. But it's a lot of new pieces coming together, a lot of new pieces in a new scheme. And I think we saw like what happens when the offensive line doesn't gel very well last year. And it gives me a little bit of anxiety because like to me, I'm like, well, you could have gone out and addressed this more aggressively and gotten better pieces. But they didn't. And so because of how they structured out the OTAs, because of the multitude of movement in that group, it's kind of like, I don't really know what they have. And I think that's another reason. Like, it's not like, while I think Wiley's a good football player, it's not like he was, the best tackle on the market coming out this year, in terms of free agent. Like, he was a good player, not a great player. Same thing with Gates, good, solid football player. And that's how you build that position group. But still, I want to see them do stuff. I want to see them run the ball. I want to see them pass protect. I want to see them against live bullets, because that position group, probably more than any other one, maybe defensive back, is so predicated on chemistry and working together as a unit.
Yeah. I'm going to start even more pacing that. We don't know who it's going to be.
Yeah.
Like, this is the one spot where I would not want to put money down on who the day one starters are. Feel like I probably got everyone else. I know where they're going to be. This one, I don't know who's going to start at left guard.
Yeah.
I would put the most, like, if you give me 100 chips, to borrow a bit from the Beltway boys, JP and Mitch and them, you give me 100 chips, I'm putting like 75 down on Sadiq Charles. Maybe 70, because I'm a little scared he gets hurt. But like, from a performance and experience standpoint, he's probably going to wind up being the starter.
He should be the guy.
But Chris Paul certainly could have a really good camp and surpass him. There's a chance something wacky happens in another position and they move some things around. Who knows? If Stromberg really comes on at center and they're like, man, okay, let's put him at center. Let's put Gates at left guard. Like, I don't know. It's unlikely, but we truly don't know. And of the guys that we do know, again, like, Cosme, theoretically a better guard, hasn't played a lot of it.
Yeah.
Wiley's, okay, what does it look like when Patrick Mahomes isn't able to get him out of some of the trouble that he got himself into in the past? He does have EB obviously calling the plays, and that gives me, I think, the most confidence in this group. But Gates hasn't played in a long time. His backups are young and inexperienced or injury prone, and Larson. Like, there's just a lot of questions. And are there questions at other positions? Yes, not nearly as many as, and one is there's 5 spots in this, and where else is there five starting spots? There isn't one.
Right.
But when you got 5 starting spots and 4 of them are question marks, and the other one, by the way, is Charles Leno, who isn't exactly a world beater, although he's a very good, very solid football player. I think that's pretty easy actually to put one, and that's it's the underlying kind of theme of this entire season is, can this offensive line do enough to allow the skill positions to shine? And if the answer is yes, they could be good. If the answer is no, it is going to be a very long season, and there will be a lot of changes after it.
And I think we both agree that there's potential there. We just haven't seen it. We don't know. And it's and I think there's high upside in this group. Like, again, Cosme to guard, I think it's great. I think Gates at center is going to be awesome for this team. I think the scheme that they're bringing in is going to be really helpful to this group. So I'm optimistic that they can get there. But, it's like you mentioned the chip analogy. Like, how many chips, like, would you bet your house that they're going to be, a good group? And it's hard to say that at this point, because there's a lot of questions. You mentioned the left guard. Like, and the other thing that gets me is, like, they haven't played together that much. It's basically 4
They haven't blocked
people.
a single run together yet.
Yes. It's
even without pads.
It's 4 people on that of 5 in new spots. And that's always a little bit tough, because, like, one of the things about offensive line is it's really how that group gels. And the best offensive lines I played with in my career weren't always the most talented guys, but they came together in a nice way. So that is still entirely possible. And we'll probably do another ranking like this maybe after training camp or something like that. And we might be saying a completely different tune. But as of right now, and a little bit of some of it's not their fault. It's just the way it was structured. We didn't get to see them kind of do anything. And that, coupled with all the questions about the personnel, I think makes it really, really challenging. So I think that's a pretty easy number one, through no fault of that, of the personnel there. It's just, we didn't see it during OTAs and minicamp. There's a lot of new people in new spots. So, yeah.
All right. Number 8,
this is
or number 2, depending. It's really tough depending on how you want to look at it. Do you have an answer? I'm still trying to decide.
I'm in between 2 spots, and I want to run it by.
All right, Elsa, are we going to do our own rankings, or are we trying to come together on a composite?
I think we can kind of come together on a composite.
I think we come together. It's probably easier for the social media team to put together a graphic that way.
If this is a 2-hour show, maybe we could do our own. But as of right now,
okay.
So I'll say
I'm
kind of torn between linebackers and quarterbacks at the moment. And I think. And maybe you could sprinkle tight ends in there. I might be overly high on
that was the one that I was thinking of.
Because but again, like, Logan looked great in OTAs. So did Cole Turner. And again, it's OTAs. Bates looked good. Like, we got to see a lot of them.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit more confident that they're going to be good. Obviously, they got to be healthy and stuff. But to me, the linebackers and the quarterbacks are kind of, those 3 are the next next tier for me, and it's just about who we want to put at 8.
Yeah. So tight end is firmly in this mix for me because these guys looked great in various things last year,
True.
OTA's training camp.
It is true.
And then it was, to quote Jamie Tart from Ted Lasso, poop. It was bad. It was bad season for the tight ends, and part of that was injuries. Part of that was just a horrendous use of them by Scott Turner. Part of that was the quarterbacks not throwing to them effectively. Like there was a lot of stuff that led to that, but it was bad. And so them looking good in OTAs does not ease my concern at all about that position. Now, I do believe that there's some real talent in that room. I do believe that Logan Thomas, not you, being healthier, is that eases my concern some for sure, because like that's a physical thing. And I know he knows how to play football. So him physically being able to does ease my concern. Linebacker is a funky one because I'm kind of optimistic. I'm kind of bullish on like how Jamin finished the year and what Barton can be, because like he showed some real flashes in Seattle.
Yeah.
I kind of feel all right. Like I don't feel like the upside's really there. And then quarterback, like I keep going all over the place on it because I do believe that Sam could be pretty good. I really believe in Bieniemy's ability to set him up, and I also big time believe in Brissett as a backup. So I am very torn on this, but I do think if you want to weight it for importance and weight it on variance, I think it's probably quarterback.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like Sam Howell's played one game. He was, a 5th round pick, whether he should have been or not. He's playing in a brand new system. He's a second-year player.
There's a lot of
that all on paper says you shouldn't be super confident.
There's a lot of uncertainty there for me, and the only reason I'd put linebackers in there is because Jamin didn't do anything in the spring. So where's he at? Where's his recovery at? Where's his development at? Because for me, he's a guy that he's a rep guy. Ron said that when you watch him, the more reps he gets, the better he is, and he didn't get any reps. So that's a big concern for me. Kalik, Cody, I think they look great during OTAs, but again, they're not running the football. So can they be as confident in their reads? Because one of the things about this system is it's challenging in terms of run fits for the linebackers. So that I think that's another thing that's factoring into my concern about the linebacker position. And like you said, tight end, I think I'm probably in the same way you're bullish on linebacker, I'm bullish on tight end, because I just think I look at Kansas City, I look at the OTA period, and I say like they're going to find ways to get maybe not all these guys touches, but a lot of them touches and find roles for them as mismatch weapons. So I'm a little bit more bullish on the tight end spot. I think Logan, he looks healthy to me. I think, obviously Armani's injury hurts that group a little bit, but I think Curtis had a nice OTA minicamp period. I think camp period. And, Bates is Bates. That's kind of the guy you can set your watch by. So I'd probably go, that's kind of my reasoning for linebacker and tight end. But I would have to say the reason for quarterback is exactly what you said, and it's the most important position in all of sports, and I think it's really closely tied to the offensive line as well. So I think Sam looked good. I think Jacoby looked good, but I think also, man, like he's second-year player. He's a 4th round, 5th round pick. We can talk about his talent all we want, but like he has not played an NFL game, and if he struggles, like this offense will struggle, and this team will struggle. So I'd probably have to go quarterback here if I was, if I was kind of putting my foot down.
I think you might have actually convinced me that it's linebacker. No.
I'm okay with linebacker too.
Like the run thing is massive, and we haven't seen any of those guys do it. They haven't gotten any reps in the spring.
Yeah. It's in terms of it's a confidence thing, and like again, I'm a little bit more confident in what I've seen from Howell, just a little bit, but the linebackers, man, big questions there. Just from how they structured practice. And again, it kind of goes back to the O-line thing. It's not their fault. Like I think we think Jamin's going to be better this year. I think we think Kalik's going to be better this year. I think we're relatively confident Cody Barton's going to improve. But a big part of what they do is they got to do both. And when you only have to do one thing in spring, you're going to look really good. You're going to look definitively good. So
yeah. I'm bullish on what Jamin did at the end of last year. I'm bullish on what Barton can be. I'm less bullish on Kalik, but like that doesn't really affect it too much. But I do think the cohesiveness and everything. I think, and Jamin not getting the reps. I think we go linebacker.
Okay, and I think the other thing to consider is like that group. I don't know how impactful they're going to be just generally, because I think you're going to see a lot of Quan Martin, you're going to see a lot of Cam Curl, you're going to see a
Sure.
lot of Percy maybe, or Forrest in that Buffalo nickel linebacker role. So how much are they actually playing? What is their impact?
Yeah. That would actually push it back towards
Yeah,
quarterbacks,
that's
though.
what I'm saying too. Is like that to me in terms of impact. I'm more worried about the quarterback, because I think you can negate some of the linebacker stuff, because I think you've got such a deep secondary group.
Okay. I'm leaving the final call
I'm gonna
with
go
you.
quarterback.
Quarterback, linebacker. Quarterback. All right.
But
So the
but
positives.
just to be clear, before someone rips our faces off, we like Sam Howell, we like Jacoby Brissett,
Yes.
but in terms of confidence, I think we have to be somewhat cautious, just because he hasn't played. You know what I mean? He hasn't played an NFL game. He's played one NFL game, and he looked good in spring, but I just need more information there. And once I get more information, I can get more confident. But right now, the uncertainty of it, I think, is very high.
And I do think that like some of the times that I think EB is to me like the settling
Yeah,
force a little
absolutely.
bit on
I
that.
totally agree.
But there's times Sam or EB wanted to rip Sam's head off in OTAs because he couldn't get the things lined up right and some of the details, and like that's part of being a young player. And by the way, once you get into game planning and you're not going against the same defense every day, and you go, oh my God, now we got different fronts. How do I target this run? Oh, the coverage is going to be dropping from a different place, different personnel that does special things because you're playing a Seattle with the Jamal Adams or
Yeah.
whatever. Pick your special DB. I don't know why he's the one that
that's a
came
weird
to my head.
one.
He hasn't
Yeah,
played
good
in
for
like 2
you.
years. He hasn't played in 2 years, but sure. You get that kind of player, and you have to do things differently. Can Sam make those week to week adjustments that you have to make as a pro? We just don't know. So all right, that means ninth was offensive line, eighth is quarterback. And when you say that out loud, it makes sense why everyone's picking them to be like the 27th team in the league. But I think we're both like, this is all relative to each other. I think we both think that there is a definitive path for it to work out. All right, that is from the Take Command podcast, which is available anywhere you get your podcasts. That episode will be out first thing tomorrow morning. And then the full episode on video, youtube.com/@1067 The Fan. We'll also have the clips of some of the segments on youtube.com/@Craig Hoffman. Anthony, I will ask you, what if I give you least confident, most confident? I'll just pick your brain for those two. Obviously, mine are on the pod. I said my least confident was O-line. Would you agree with that, or do you have a different one?
I would say O-line as well, but only because I feel like they're going to be able to be helped. I feel like EB and the scheme that he sort of kind of runs, he'll help those guys. He
kind of runs?
Oh, yeah. Well, the one that I mean, I don't know. It could be different. I don't know, because it was
fair.
EB mixed with Andy Reid, two great offensive minds, coming together. And we haven't really seen EB, and do a whole season or call plays for a whole season. So I'm just going off predictions. But I would say O-line. I would definitely say O-line.
What's your most confident?
Most confident, I will have to say.
Your choices are quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end. Obviously not O-line because you said it's the least. D-line, linebacker, DB, special teams.
Most confident, I'm going to go with our receivers. I understand, the quarterback does have to do the job and get the ball to them. But I think it's going to be some quick game, and I think we have playmakers. So I think it's going to be a whole bunch of, run after the catch. I mean, that's what I think is going to boil down to. I think when Tyreek Hill was, with Kansas City, and even Travis Kelce, we saw what he could do with, yards after the catch. So I'm thinking it's going to be a lot of explosive plays that are like short, like dump plays, and then we somehow, make a huge play.
So wide receivers were in our top three.
Yep.
I won't tell you if they were number one. You got to listen to the pod. But here's what you guys should do. I feel like this would be very fun to do with Scott and Doc. Confidence rankings.
Okay.
You guys should take our list and we can compare lists.
All right.
So you look forward to that tomorrow.
You know, Doc doesn't really do list.
Doc is anti-list.
Yeah, he loves to leave it to like Kevin Sheehan and those guys. So I promise you tomorrow, I'm actually gonna clip it because I know for a fact I'm gonna bring it up to Doc, and he's gonna say, "We can leave that for Hoffman and Sheehan." I'm not really a list guy, but he will listen to what Scott and I have to say. He just won't really give us his list.
Doc loves to talk about his confidence in people. Like, I'm confident that, although that is also, I don't know, it's a fine line because it also gets into like hypothetical land, and Doc doesn't like hypothetical.
Exactly. So
how does Doc do radio in June?
It's a great question.
There's not any actual things to talk about. It's all projection.
Or he's talking about the Nationals.
Yeah.
And I think I'll listen to him just talk about the Nationals.
More interesting than you'd think, those Washington Nationals.
Yeah, they are.
So that's nice. Mackenzie Gore doing things. Some of the young players progressing nicely. We love to see it. Does it matter if the Nationals win 50 games or 58 games this year? 60 games? No, it doesn't. That's the point. Remember that when you're watching the Wizards.
Yep.
They tied it all together. All right, when we get back here on the Hoffman Show, what else happened this weekend? It was a crazy weekend in sports. We will do some of that, and then we wrap up the show with real things real people said into real microphones here on the Team 980.
DC has a new home for your favorite songs.
Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Sorry, I had to finish calling out the airline online, Anthony. That was what I was doing in the break. I got time. You know me for pretty well for the better part of a year now. We didn't really know each other that well when we started this.
Yep.
How many people you know that are more petty than me?
It's a great question. I don't think I know too many.
I got time.
I got time today.
I got time.
Oh.
I'm a principled person.
Hold on. So did they answer?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
But they looking bad
it wasn't
online.
enough time in the break.
I didn't want to look. I don't like calling companies out online. I also realize that like social media admins, that's not a very fun gig when you work for a corporation. You sign up to do fun TikToks and Twitters and Instagrams and all that kind of stuff. God, I just sounded like I was 100 years old. And then you get to deal with angry customers all the time. I'm not out here trying to make customers like that was something when I was younger. I'll be totally honest. I'll be totally honest with you and the audience. When I was younger and I had customer service issues, I thought beating up the customer service rep was a sport. I was an obnoxious, petulant kid. Like, it's embarrassing.
This is with your words, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I wasn't like showing up places. What am I going to do? Show up to the electric company and be like,
I'm just making sure.
give me Jimmy in customer service. I want to kick his ass. No.
I was just making sure.
No, I just was like internally, I never like actually made anybody cry, but in my head I was like, if I can make them cry, oh well. Now I would just calmly ask for a manager and I will find someone who can fix my problem. I got time. I will make the time. You're not going to take my money. I did have someone reply with a good suggestion, which is just, hey, dispute the charge on your card, bro, like everybody else. After I did like my 6-thread tweet thread. I was like, I guess I could do that.
Yeah.
But I also feel like I don't know. I feel bad about that.
That's the easy way out for, said airline.
It is, but it's also like, I don't know. Like, I technically agreed to the charge. It's just I don't understand the charge, and I think the charge is incorrect. I'd like to resolve that rather than just being like, oh, I'm going to willy-nilly go in my credit card company, and I feel like that could reflect poorly. I can't just be disputing charges.
Yeah.
It feels like it could have an effect on my credit.
Yeah.
I don't like that. And if there's any financial people that want to shoot us a note, by all means. If that's the best, if there's the easy way out is just like, hey, I agreed to pay this much, but not this much, then put it on the credit card and then it fixes, then there's no harm. Let us know, because that does seem like a much easier solution where I can feel better about myself. I will never fly this airline again. That much has already been decided. Never.
Ever.
No.
Ever.
I can say this. I'll tell her later anyway. Rachel hates flying. And also is like very anti-stopping, like connections, which I get, right?
Very annoying.
Good chance your luggage, or much better chance that your luggage gets lost. She doesn't like flying. She gets nauseous while flying, which is very, very bad for her. Like when we fly, she kind of like is dead for the rest of the day. So like, and a big part of it is takeoff and landing. So if you have multiple takeoffs and multiple landings, it's worse. Yeah. If I was flying by myself, I would go rip mad on I guess I just said it, on the airline. I mean, it's on Twitter. People can figure it out. On the airline until they gave me a full refund, and I would book a flight on another airline, and I would be willing to make my life more inconvenient. I would take my preferred airline, including a stop, because there's not currently a non-stop available. I would take an extra stop to not fly on this plane tomorrow.
Hey, look, you're a better man than me.
Am I, or am I worse? That's a level of pettiness. I'm willing to be so petty that I will go outside of my own convenience to prove a point.
Yeah, I don't think I would.
I don't think that actually makes me better. I think that makes me deranged.
That might be a better word then.
Disturbed.
A deranged man hosting a radio show. Makes for good radio to me.
I guess. The positive spin on it is I am principled. The negative spin on it is I am a moron. And that, audience, is for you to decide. You can also leave a comment on the live stream, youtube.com/@theteam980. It is time for a look at what else happened this weekend. And we're actually going to focus on the Mystics and Liberty game yesterday. Anthony, when did you tune into this game? Were you watching the whole thing? I caught most of the fourth quarter and then obviously into overtime.
So I started watching the game. We were up a lot. I want to say we were up like 16 or something like that. 15. I don't know. And then I probably cut it off when Nescu hit like a 3 in like the second quarter. And then I came back in the fourth quarter because I seen it was a close game. And oh my goodness, that fourth quarter was crazy. For all the people that be hating on the WNBA, I lie to you now. If you watch the fourth quarter of that game, you will appreciate women's basketball that much more. It is so competitive, and I just don't think it gets the respect that it deserves.
It doesn't, but I'm not even here. I'm not even here to address those people. If you want good, no, I get it. You said it. You said it. I'm in. Like, I don't need to say anymore. Like, is good hoop? We're going to talk about it like the good hoop that it was, like adults who watched good hoop. And if anybody wanted to miss out on it, that's your loss, not ours.
Yep.
So, like, it was incredible. The back and forth, the shot making. Ionescu was ridiculous. 30-plus point game for her ultimately. Really scary, and we're still waiting to hear just how bad it is. It sounds like we may have avoided disaster based off how they worded it after, but Shakira Austin, who's been incredible this year for the Mystics, second-year player, coming off a championship in Israel in her offseason, playing overseas. She went down in a heap. It looked like it was a hamstring. I was scared that she tore it. I was like, the way she went down, the pain she was in, the fact that they carried her off. Did she just tear her hamstring? Like, that's season over if she did. But they called it a left hip strain.
Yeah.
So hopefully she is okay within days, if not within weeks, and it's not anything that kind of ends her season, whether it's the regular season or full on through the playoffs. But I think the bigger story for the Mystics is a problem that's plagued them through time. And Natasha Cloud's awesome. Fantastic basketball player. Turnover problem in the clutch. Sound familiar? They don't necessarily get Elena the shots down the stretch that I think she should get. And I don't know that she's the shot creator down the stretch that she should get. I think Eric Tebow drew up a couple nice plays. They didn't convert, including, by the way, the last one. Maisha Hines-Allen has a layup. Beautiful back. She sets, I think it was 3 screens and then slips and get a look for a layup, and she misses the layup. And, like, that's just it comes down to execution down the stretch. And, by the way, the Liberty, who are supposed to be this juggernaut of a team, one, they can't figure out what they're doing with Jonquel Jones. This is a former MVP 2 years ago who played 23 minutes and is not playing down the stretch. I don't get why she's not playing more. I haven't watched enough Liberty basketball to have an extremely strong take, but the fact that she's got like 10 rebounds in 23 minutes, I'm like, I don't know which more you want from her, but it seems like she could be kind of useful. But they had a bunch of turnovers and some bad shots, and Ionescu, I mean, I'll give this credit to Tasha. It wasn't like just a bunch of turnovers and bad ball down the stretch. Like, she had a couple incredible defensive possessions, stands Ionescu up, and Sabrina is strong, and she will back people down. And Natasha was just like, nope, I'm a brick wall. Like, good luck. I'm not moving. Like, you can back into me all day, and you're just not going to go anywhere. And then she got to throw up a crap shot. And so watching that back and forth just makes me think that the team that I'm going to see twice this week, including against the Liberty on Thursday out in Vegas, is a team on a completely different level than these two. And that the Mystics and the Liberty are far more on the same level. And the Aces, the defending champs, who are winning every game by somewhere between 20 and 50 points, is in a completely different league. Now, we'll see. The Aces have the Fever tonight, Indiana, who they've beaten the pants off of multiple times by 30 points this season. And then they've got, or maybe it's just once so far, but I know they beat them pretty badly at one point. Although, no, did they play them? No, the Fever played the Mystics really tough. The Aces have only lost one game. Now I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, they lost to the Sun.
That's right. Who, by the way, is the rematch of that is on Saturday in Vegas. So huge week for the Aces. I'm excited to go out there and see them. Going to see our good friend Alicia Clark, who signed with them in the offseason. And but I tend to think that, we'll see how competitive it is on Thursday. I expect it to be very competitive, but I just think over the course of a series, like, the Aces are in a different class right now than these two teams. So it's going to be interesting to watch.
I would agree. But also I think we felt Shakira Austin's presence, or lack thereof presence, not being on the court
For sure.
Down the stretch of the game. You know, you put Tiana Hawkins in. Yes, she's a phenomenal player in her own right. But
Veteran, been there, done that, but she ain't Shakira.
Defensively, they needed Shakira bad. And to be honest, the game shouldn't even been that close. The Mystics were up 17.
Yep.
You got to know how to close the game. So I'm not going to just put it on, what happened at the end of the game. But the Mystics, they got to be better. And it's not that many games, so you got to win these close games.
Yep. You gotta be able to close it out. And that was a huge problem for them last year. And it ultimately cost them. They didn't get out of the first round. And I think it's a big problem again. And I don't know that they have, it comes down to the core players. And that's the other thing, right? If Shakira is a part of this core now with how good she has become, and would it have been different down the stretch offensively and defensively? We know it would have been defensively, but what about offensively down the stretch if she's the one taking that final shot, for instance, versus Maisha Hines-Allen, who, again, good player, but she missed a point-blank layup for the game. I don't know what else to say. There's no way to sugarcoat that. All right. By the way, we gave you a little preview of Spirit Thorns on Friday on the show, and then we told you Sophia Smith problem. Holy crap! The good news is that Sophia Smith is now on the team that we'll be rooting for because she's going to the World Cup. But her final performance in a Thorns uniform before departing was dropping a hat trick on the Spirit, 4-2. But I will say this. Mark Parsons is not going to be happy because they lost. But it took individual brilliance by the Thorns. And as a team, I thought the Spirit played very well in that game. So I'm excited to see what they can do over this July this July stretch when obviously the World Cup players will be gone into August. And then we'll see come playoff time if the Spirit can put it back together if they do face the Thorns, potentially even in the NWSL final. All right, when we get back here on the Hoffman Show, real things, real people said in real microphones. First, quick look at what is trending.
Here's what's trending.
show wrapping up here on the Team 980. Thanks for sticking with us today. This has been a trying show, but we did it, Anthony. We are almost out safely as you sit there and calculate what time we will actually be done. And then we get to walk outside, and it's not going to be terrible, which is something that I was prepared for. You've heard what we were supposed to be walking out into, right?
Rain, right?
No, not rain. Dude, it was supposed to be windstorms and hail. Like 70 mile per hour wind gusts and 2-inch hail.
Hail? Good gracious.
Yeah. Guess what? The old DC split happened.
I hope you don't jinx us.
When storms come to DC, something happens right as they get close, and they split. And one part goes north and one part goes south, and we get spared.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's the life we deserve, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, finally, something we deserve today, because it's been a day full of things that I don't deserve, and I still got to deal with more when I get out of here. But you want to know what? You know something that can make me feel better? Basically, every time?
What's going to make you feel better, brother man, Craig?
Real things, real people said, in the real microphones.
Real things.
We're not going to be sucked this year.
Real people.
5 and 11, not very good.
Said into real microphones.
You know, the culture is actually damn good.
44, that's a good number, Anthony. You know,
44 is a great number. Fantastic, actually.
Shared heritage, if you will.
Yes, sir.
All right. If you know, you know. That's why you watch the stream, kids. All right. So, Will Dawkins spoke this weekend at the Wharf. That's where they were introducing Wizards' first-round pick, Bilal Coulibaly, who has a pretty unique profile, according to the new Wizards general manager.
Yeah, it's the thing that pops out right away when you see the 7'2" length for a guard. He's 99th percentile for his position in height. He's 99th percentile in his position for length. And if you take all the measurements and see him run and jump, he's probably 99th percentile on that too. But with that comes an effort. And he's a guy that takes contact, dishes out on offense, but defensively he can guard on the ball, guard off the ball. We see him as a guy that can switch and be versatile, and he embraces that. So for us, having a defensive mindset first as a young player, it's going to be hard to get on the court, as we know for young guys, but he's got the passion and motivation to be able to get it first on the floor defensively.
All right, I'm convinced he's going to he's going to the Hall of Fame. No, just kidding. Clearly extremely talented. I'm so interested to see kind of what his growth is, both literally and figuratively, because I think there's a definitive chance that he grows into like a 6'11" type of frame. But he's a legit 6'7" right now, because I saw a picture of him standing with Wes Hall. And if you don't know, Wes Hall, the beautiful man who's on your television before every Wizards and Mystics game, he's a legit 6'5". He's a big man. And Coulibaly's taller than him. So I was like, legit 6'7", huh? And Wes was like, sure is. Sure is. All right. Oh boy. Anthony, what is the context of Neymar and Jimmy Butler singing Love Yourself on stage somewhere? How did this happen?
I'm not quite frankly sure how it happened. I just came across them two singing, on Twitter, and I thought it was something, a real thing.
Yeah, that definitely fits the themes of the segment. All right, let's see how bad this is. That was somehow as bad, but also better than I thought. Like, the singing quality was horrendous, but it was joyful, and that's what karaoke at its best is.
Gotta always love karaoke. Speaking of karaoke,
No, I hate
I actually
karaoke.
just did some this weekend.
You did? What was up with that? You look like you had a fun weekend, sir. You celebrating someone?
Myself. So my girlfriend, she planned a surprise with my family. They all pulled up to this karaoke spot. And, and we had a hell of a time. I was in there crying my heart out, singing some Rod Wave. And, yeah. I had fun. I didn't sing "Love Yourself" though.
What is your go-to karaoke song?
Ooh, that's a great question. I don't really have one.
I don't either because I don't do karaoke.
Oh, we gotta get you out there.
No.
I gotta hear you sing.
No, I hate karaoke. No, this is like an actual thing with me. When I was younger, as you know, as audience, some might know, I was a DJ when I was working in high school. And so, like, when you work for, it's like a corporate DJ, if you will, a company that goes to, like, weddings and things like that, and you occasionally get hired for a pool party, and they want karaoke. It was a service that we offered. And if we had to do karaoke, dog, it made the gig. I should have either refused or been paid triple because it's extra equipment, and it's just a bunch of drunk people wanting to sing terribly, and you have to, like, hand over the microphone, and you have to stop the music, and it's like
So loud,
it's
obnoxious.
awful.
I understand.
Awful. So I am scarred. I'm also like, I don't like being embarrassed, and I'm a terrible singer. So like the idea of having to sing is just not, it's not appealing, but I have genuine scars from my youth of like drunk people at pool parties singing karaoke.
I feel your pain.
Yeah. So
That's fair.
That's
a decent gripe to have with karaoke.
Yeah, I'd say
understand.
that's legit. I'm bummed that we told that story instead of getting Chris Paul and his infamous fake laugh meme with Steve Kerr.
Yeah.
But I guess you guys can do that one tomorrow. Do you guys do real things when I'm out?
Yeah. Every time.
Nice. All right, well, that's tomorrow. Y'all have a great rest of your week. See you next Monday.
You can listen to the Team 980 on